Welcome into this week's edition of the Alabama Racer, brought to you by Jack Green Oil Company, your local VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor located right here in Oxford. They serve the northern half of the state of Alabama. My name is Jim Jacobs, and it's my privilege to host the show each week. I get to be your wheelman for about 40 minutes. We talk about everything that's racing in the state of Alabama, and this week we've got a special treat. I was able to get him out of his Pro Late model and ARCA car long enough to get him up here in the studio with me. Folks, Bret Holmes.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show today. Today we're going to talk about our ARCA starts at Talladega and Pocono, and we've also got another hotshot in the studio that's racing where I grew up from.
My name is Brodie Clay, and I drive the number 9 White Lightning Mini Late model. I'm here this week to talk to Jim about go-kart racing. Jim and Bret will be right back when Alabama Racer takes the green flag next.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Anniston Storage is one of the area's finest household and commercial storage facilities. Fenced, well lit with security cameras, this multi-unit facility can meet all of your short or long-term storage needs. Anniston Storage is safely accessible 24 hours with an electric gate and keypad entry, each unit securely locked to protect your valuables. Sizes available are 10 by 10 up to 10 by 40 feet. We also offer outside storage for boats, campers, trailers, or motorhomes. Find everything you need at our website, AnnistonStorage.com. You can even reserve your unit and pay your bill. Anniston Storage, 3100 Red Morris Parkway in Anniston.
Spring is finally here. If you're looking for a new car, truck, or SUV,
or just want something more dependable that's affordable to drive,
then come see us at Avery Auto Sales of Anniston, 410 South Quintard Avenue, home of certified cars, trucks, and SUVs.
Don't pay high new car prices. Come see us at Avery Auto Sales in Oxford on Highway 78.
we even can offer an additional 100,000-mile certified warranty.
And yes, we can get you financed even if you have poor credit.
Spring into Avery Auto Sales on Highway 78 in Oxford and our new location on Quintard in Anniston.
Welcome back to the Alabama Racer, presented by Green Oil Company. Jim Jacobs here alongside Bret Holmes, and we'll start this evening with a trip back to late April at Talladega Super Speedway, where Bret got his super speedway, got his first start at one anyway. And, you know, I've been thinking about what kind of questions to ask you about this. I watched the race several times, and I guess the first thing I want to know is, what's the one thing you learned that you didn't expect to learn?
I think I learned a lot as far as drafting goes, and you know, learning to use both lines through the race. You know, I stayed kind of glued to the yellow line during the race, the inside lane, and I expected it to go a little bit faster than the outside line did, and that's what I, you know, saw in the past ARCA races at super speedways.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, my mentality, you know, and that was a little different than what it should have been. You know, I wish I had a couple chances to move up in the race, and I think that would have made us, you know, a little bit closer to the front during the end of the race. But you know, it's my first start. You know, you live and learn from it, and just takes laps to get experience like that.
Well, see, I think you learned how not to wreck when you should have, because I saw 2 times that I just knew it was done with the lapped car over in 3 and 4. I think that's when you scuffed the left side of the car up, wasn't it? And then, of course, on the restart where somebody didn't go or something and you had to get out of line. And
yeah,
that pretty much messed your afternoon up there.
Yeah, those are definitely really close calls. I think the problem with the lap car was that car outside of me was kind of pinching me down a little bit too much. And, you know, that deal on the restart there, we were all bunched up really tight trying to push each other. And we just got tangled together and the car got out of hand. And I got out of line, and like I said, you know, you just gotta learn from getting laps at super speedway, super speedway tracks. You know, it's just so different from anything I've ever done with just racing short tracks all the time.
Well, both those incidents, Bret, looked to me like they were not of your own making. So, what did you learn as to how to avoid that in the future? I mean, is it just a case-by-case thing you have to do, or I mean, did you really learn something from those situations?
Yeah, I learned a little bit. I mean, the lap car incident is something that happens all the time. But you know, when that last caution there that, you know, we barely avoided, I think I was just being a little bit too aggressive on the outside and trying to bump and trying to get my line to go. You know, I was wanting to get back to the front. We had 4 laps to go, and I was getting really anxious. So, you know, I think just stay calm and just be patient. That's the biggest deal in the super speedway races, because you can make up so much ground in a short time that it's really not going to make that much of a difference if you're trying to push them, really quick.
Were you surprised when you got out of the car and they said, "Hey, you finished 10th"?
A little bit, we avoided that wreck there, and they took a little bit to throw the caution out, and I just kept going. I don't really stop until the yellow light comes on. So I kept doing that, and we ended up 10th, and it was a good top 10 finish. Our team has 3 top 10s so far this year, and I'm really proud of all the guys that help us. I think I've been in a car that we've potentially been able to win in every race. So. I can't ask for a better crew and quality of car I've got right under me. I just need a little bit more laps and experience. And the ARCA cars, they're a lot different from the late models that I'm normally used to driving, but that just comes with time, I think.
How much different is speedway racing than anything else you've done? Is it just a complete, it looks like it would just be a completely different world.
Well, life at 190 miles an hour is a lot different than life at 100 miles an hour. But, it's definitely a lot different. You don't, in short track racing, you don't deal with having to draft with anybody or, that group qualifying stuff. It's definitely a lot different. You just gotta watch from past races and get tips from as many drivers as you can and stay patient in the race, and you'll do fine. But it's definitely nothing you can apply from short track racing to super speedway racing will help.
How different is it inside the car versus watching from inside the car on television? The feel. Can you describe it for people that are watching here? How much difference is the feel? Because if you watch it on television with the in-car cameras, you look like you're just cruising down the interstate, doing 95 miles an hour on the interstate.
Right.
How much difference does it actually feel in the car?
You actually being in the seat is a lot different in itself. In the back of your mind, you're realizing, oh my God, I'm going 190 miles an hour, and you're stacked up.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're in 3-lane traffic in Atlanta and you're wanting to go, but you can't. You know what I mean? If you get out of line, you're just going to slow down. So that's the biggest thing, and just keeping your concentration, making sure you're staying nose to tail with the car in front of you, and being ready to react as quick as possible if a wreck or anything like that happens.
How much different was Talladega versus the test at Daytona?
A good bit difference. The best thing that really helped me from the test to racing Talladega was the group qualifying thing, because all we did in the test was getting packs of like 5 to 6 cars, or just single car runs, and that's nothing you do in the race. So it's definitely a lot different when you're running side by side, 2 to 3 wide, and 20, 30 cars in a pack, and it's definitely a lot different than just a 6-car pack. You're also going a lot faster. The more cars you get in a pack, the faster you're going. So, and for that long of time, in the test, you're only making like 5 or 6 laps and then pulling in, and this you're out there the whole time, and you don't have much to do about it. So, but that's the test definitely did help me though. I was a lot really confident going into the race. Just knowing, just, be calm and not make any mistakes, and you'll be fine. And just that group qualifying deal, just, qualifying as best as you can and working the group as best as you can to have the best spot. I think being closer to the front, not having to worry about gaining spots is a lot better than, having to worry about, getting up to the front. So.
How frustrating is the pack racing? From a driver's seat, when you're kind of stuck where you are until something else gives. How frustrating is it?
Right. What I've always said is your fate, your fate depends on a lot of other drivers' actions. Mm-hmm. And that's really frustrating to know in the back of your head, out there, that you can't control a lot of the stuff that happens to you. And, and just having to work the draft so much is the biggest part of it. You can't just get out of line and do your own thing. You've got to work together with somebody, work together with teammates, and talk with people, and hoping nobody leaves you out to dry, because that's just the biggest bummer as far as super speedway racing. But I really enjoyed it though. It was so cool getting to finally get to make laps around Talladega, somewhere I've just gone down Speedway Boulevard and just gotten to look at, not been able to actually race on.
Has it settled into you now how big a week that was for you? I mean, just not only on the racetrack, but off the racetrack with all the attention and, you know, everywhere you turn there were write-ups and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you had a lot of media obligations, and I'm sure it just was mind-boggling.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I've just never, you know, I've never been, you know, circulated around that much attention before, and just being a hometown kid from here, and you know, going to Auburn, and I just had a lot of local support and a lot of friends and family and a lot of other people just watching, just to, you know, see how I do. Just some, you know, kid that grew up racing right across the road in a go-kart. But it was really cool. I mean, I wish we would have done better that weekend. I mean, a top 10 is still really good for our team, especially for a new startup team like we've done. Like I said, we've only had 3 starts, but you know, I was pleased with it. But I know we can do better than that.
When you left the racetrack Friday, can you reflect back and maybe share with us some of your inner thoughts as to what you felt inside after what had happened, and knowing that, hey, for at least the moment, this is over?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I regret from the race was the thing that happened at the end where I got out of line, and we're all just trying to be really aggressive and bump there. And I think as far as throughout the start to the middle of the race, I wish I would have been more aggressive in itself, because I had a couple chances to get up in that high line and where it actually moved forward, and our bottom line stayed the same. Mm-hmm. I think a couple of those things, if I would have done differently, I think we would have had a shot at winning the race. But I'll definitely look back on it, and like I said, just learn from it and apply it to next year when we race Daytona and Talladega.
So you eager to get to Daytona now?
Definitely eager to get to run Daytona. I mean, I got to watch that race last year, wishing I was in it. I mean, I hate watching from the grandstands and not being involved, you know what I mean? But it was really cool just to, even get to watch, and then, now getting the opportunity to race and drive in something like that, and it's something I've always wanted to do. Now
that you've done the pack racing drafting thing, does it give you more appreciation for drivers that seem to be really good at it, like Dale Jr.? I mean, because it seems like certain drivers are really good at manipulating things to work out the way they want them to.
Right. I mean, I think drivers like Dale Jr. and Brad Keselowski, they know just how to work those lines. Like when they get out front and they go from lane to block and pull one lane faster than the other, and then get out of that lane. I think there's a lot more strategy to it than people think. I think a lot of people from the outside view think it's just, sit in line and wait till something happens so you can get to the front. But I think there's a lot more strategy that's involved in it. I definitely have a lot more respect for those drivers that do, compete in those races. A lot of the drivers think it's kind of boring because, you're just, all the way on the throttle and just, not worrying about braking or anything like that. But I honestly, I really enjoyed it, and I have a lot more respect after that race for other drivers, and especially ones that are really good at it. But like I said, just making the right decisions throughout the race and knowing when to be aggressive and when not to be.
Well, I think one of the things that you mentioned while we've been talking is, a lot of times your fate is not in your own hands. Right. I can remember when the race was over thinking to myself how well I thought you had done, given the fact that really I thought you had a couple of opportunities to really be in some bad situations. Mm-hmm. And you got out of there with a top 10, you didn't tear the race car up, so you got a piece to go to Daytona with without rebuilding it, although I think they're changing bodies or something. We'll talk about that when we get to Pocono. But all in all, I mean, you guys had to go home pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, we were happy about it, but like I said,
I know you wanted to win, but
right. Definitely with all the attention around it too. I wanted to win that race more than any other race I had scheduled on my schedule this season. And it being my.
You do know fairy tales seldom come true, right?
Right, but one can dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and never stop dreaming.
Right, but like I said, I mean, just having in the back of my mind, knowing we could have done better, but. Also got to give myself a little bit of slack, just knowing it was my first super speedway race.
Absolutely. Well done. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break because another thing you have to do in our sport is take care of the sponsors. And we will do that and get back with more. Let's see. We got Brodie Clay coming up. He is the young man who drives the number 9 White Lightning mini late model out of Talladega Raceway Park. they've had an interesting past couple of weeks. Brodie's, of course, won about 8 or 9 races in a row, but last week they had an accident at the shop that really messed them up, and it kept them out of victory lane this past Friday night. We'll talk to Brodie when we come back on the Alabama Racer. Stay close.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Need a place to keep your tools?
Or a place to get away from the wife. Whatever your needs are, we got a barn or a carport for you.
With rent-to-own options and no credit checks, we can help you take home the right barn or carport today.
And with 4 different locations, we're just a short drive away.
So come see us in Glen Cove, Moody, Asheville, or Attala, and let our family help your family get the barn or carport you deserve.
The tire, arguably the most important part of a car. Without it, we could not stop, we could not go, we couldn't drive at all. They come in all sizes, brands, treads, prices, and ratings. How do you know which is the right tire for you? Thankfully, there's Cobb Automotive, and they have been answering this question since 1981. With a large selection of brands and sizes in stock, you are sure to get the right tire for the right price. Cobb Automotive, located on Highway 21 across from Walmart in Oxford, and 2001 Quintard Avenue in Anniston.
Welcome back to the Alabama Racer, brought to you by Green Oil Company, your local VP Racing Fuels and Madditives distributor. I'm Jim Jacobs, alongside Brodie Clay, who is tearing it up out at Talladega Raceway Park with his little mini late model White Lightning, number 9. Well, listen, do we start, do we shake hands, do we fist bump, or we do 5? What's the thing nowadays?
Fist.
Fist? All right, good deal. We got that covered. All right, how many races you won this year?
I've won 9 out of 10 this year.
9 out of 10. And the only reason you probably haven't won 10 is somebody tried to burn your car up last week. Who's responsible for that?
I can't say.
You can't. Hey, smart young man, always protect the car owner. Got that? Okay, all right. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So what got you started?
Well, one day we went, because someone told us about the go-kart track was free to get in, so we just went to watch. And when we were watching the juniors, my dad said he'd like to get me in one of them. And there was this real fast car there. And the next day, my dad looked on Craigslist, and there was that car for sale.
Yeah. Now, is that the current car, or have you graduated to something else?
That's the current car.
That's the current car. So your first car is still your race car, right?
Yes, sir. We just done some changes on it.
Yeah. So were you excited about doing it, or was this kind of living through your dad to start with?
Well, when I seen it, I bugged him until he bought it.
So in other words, you probably found it on Craigslist. All right. For folks that don't know you, that are not from this part of the state, you go to school out at Alexandria, right? Now, first, how old are you?
I'm 12.
You're 12. What grade are you in?
I'm going to 7th.
Going into 7th. So you're in the junior high school?
Yes, sir.
Or the middle, they call it middle school, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, what do you do besides race your go-kart?
I play football and play basketball at Alexandria.
So you're orange and black, right?
Yes, sir.
How's the car white then?
I don't know. It was just white when we bought it.
I mean, you certainly had a reason to repaint it this past week.
It was just white when we bought it, and then we wanted to stick the name White Lightning.
Yeah. Well, folks, look at the screen right now, because here's what this thing was last week. I was told it was a welding accident. Brodie, you tell me what really happened.
Well, our frame broke because someone hit us in the back, so he was grinding the old weld off so he could weld it, and sparks hit fumes or something, and the car lit on fire.
Oh, man, that's bad.
It took 6 fire extinguishers to get that fire out.
Holy cow. Were you thinking maybe your racing career was over before it got started good?
No, I knew they said they were going to buy me another one, but it was scary though.
Yeah. Oh, well, anytime you got something like that going on, that's not good, obviously. All right, talk to me about racing. What's it like to go out and race every Friday during the spring and the summer like you're doing right now? And what's it take to make all that happen during the week?
Well, it takes family, because you couldn't do anything without family.
All right, hold that thought for just a second. Another screenshot here's the Brodie fan club on the screen right now, and as you can tell, they take family to a new level. I mean, there's a ton of these folks. I hope they're all kin. Are they all relatives, or I know you've got a twin sister.
Not all of them are relatives. Some of them are just fans that go to watch me.
Yeah. You've got a pretty good little fan base, too, from what I understand.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I hear a lot of people on some of the video and stuff that I've seen that people have shot out there on Fridays. When you win, people cheer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, this past week, you had to start in the back, right?
Yes, sir. We had some problems in the heat race. We were ahead about 5 car lengths, and the carburetor gave out. It was just done.
Yeah. So you had to borrow one, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Who loaned you a carburetor?
Davy Ponder.
Yeah. That's John's dad, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Nicole's son?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
And who'd you beat? Well, he won his first race, right?
I was right on his bumper, but...
How many more laps did you need? Or could you have gotten him?
I tried, but I don't think I could have, because as low as he was, I would have had to wreck him, and we'd have both went to the back, and there was no point in that.
Yeah, you're right. No point in driving dirty. Do it fair and square. But you guys, I mean, in your class out there, there are several cars, and I mean, you work traffic and all a lot, don't you?
Yes, sir. Especially when you have to come from the back to the front.
Yeah. So it's better to start up front, right?
It is, but it's funner when you start in the back.
Yeah, well, you probably get more experience doing that, don't you?
Yes, sir.
So where's all this going? I mean, what do you hope to do 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years from now?
Well, this is my last year in this car, so next year I want to go big track, but we hadn't really decided what we're going to do.
So you can't race this car anymore?
No, sir. They said when you turn 13 that you're supposed to get out of the minis.
Yeah. So can you run some other kind of go-kart? I mean, I see some pretty big guys in some of the other go-karts out there.
Yeah, so there's a junior late model, which is a 21-horse Honda or Briggs & Stratton. You do whatever you want to it.
Yeah. So maybe that?
That's one of the things that we've been talking about, too.
But you want to go over on the big track?
Yes, sir.
Can you race? Are you still too young to race over there, though?
No, sir. I could go right there. I could run street stock or thunder car right now.
Yeah.
Because Cruz, he started when he was 12 in crate late models.
Yeah. Now you and Cruz are buddies, right?
Yes, sir.
I see you hanging around with him some at the track. Has he helped you any?
Yeah, he's helped us with our bracing in the car. They had some metal that they loaned us.
But does he help you any with driving?
Not really.
You don't need his help when you're winning, do you?
I just do what I think's right when I'm out there.
How have you learned to drive?
Well,
I mean, has it just been getting out there doing it, or I mean, do you do any of the sim stuff, or how'd you kind of get your feet wet?
Well, I say it's because we have a golf cart at home, and I started driving it when I was 6 or so.
Yeah.
And I just liked driving ever since. And then we went out there.
So, do you have a lot of people telling you that you have a future in racing, or is this just something you're doing because it's fun? I mean, where is this in your head and your mom and dad's head at this point in time?
In my head, I'm just doing it for fun, but other people, it's like, I hope to see you at NASCAR and stuff, but I'm just doing it for fun right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to NASCAR and everything, but it's just for fun.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
I will tell you, that life's not as glamorous as it looks. Okay? And probably the most important thing with what you're doing is just continue to have fun and learn. And, do you work on the car much?
Well, they usually work on the car. I'll just like take off the tires and stuff if they need me to.
Yeah. Well, you need to learn how to work on the car, okay, to make it handle. Because if you can make your car handle, you can always go fast. Now, where do you go to race besides Talladega Raceway Park?
Well, we usually stick to Talladega, but we've been to Penton, and then we've been to Bailey's.
Yeah, now where's Bailey's? I'm not familiar. I know where Penton is, but where's Bailey's?
It's kind of in Ranburn, you'd say.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Ranburn.
I got you.
I forgot what.
Now, is it just a go-kart track?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at Penton, is that a separate track from the big oval, or are you racing on the big oval?
Oh, it's right down the road from the big oval.
Okay. Now, don't they run the go-karts over on the big track once or twice a year at Talladega?
No, sir, they won't do that.
They don't do that?
We tried to get them to do it.
You'd like to win there too, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So maybe next year big track racing or some other kind of go-kart, but you're not sure yet.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. We're still deciding.
Knocking it around.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you like people to know about you that maybe don't know you but have heard about your racing? Because I mean, really, what you've done this year is pretty spectacular. Winning as many races as you have, and you won them all back to back. I think on the racing calendar a few weeks ago, I think I said, can anybody stop this kid? Because you had won like 6 or 7 races in a row. What do you want people to know about you? What's something somebody might want to know about you that they wouldn't know?
I'm not really all about racing. I play football and everything. They might not know that, but it's not race. It's football, race, basketball.
Yeah. So what do you like the most between football or basketball, or which do you feel like you're better at?
I like basketball better.
Good man. Good man. I played basketball. I like basketball better too. I never could figure out why people had to hit their heads against one another to have fun. I mean, it's much more fun trying to put that ball in the hoop, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Well, listen, continued success at the short track. Don't burn anything up the rest of this year, although you're not responsible, from what I understand, for the last one. And, maybe we'll catch up with you again at the end of the season when we'll be talking about championships. That sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Thanks for coming in. This is Brodie Clay. Hey, people like Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and lots of stars got their start just where he's sitting right now. So keep an eye on him. He's got some talent. Hopefully he can progress and do some more things with it. We'll be right back with the Alabama Racer. We'll get into the racing calendar, talk about what happened across the state this past weekend, and look ahead to what's on track for this coming Friday and Saturday night across the state. When the Alabama Racer continues, we're coming right back when? Next.
Daffron Auto Salvage in Pell City is where you'll find over 30 acres of automotive salvage, plus a warehouse full of quality parts for almost any need. Just call ahead and tell us what you're looking for. At Daffron Auto Salvage, you'll find it all. Engine parts, transmissions, rear ends, radiators, suspension, body parts, auto glass, even tires and wheels. You'll also get fast, friendly service. It's been that way since 1965. Don't pay too much for parts. Think used first. Daffron Auto Salvage, 793 Old Cold City Road in Pell City.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Welcome back to the Alabama Racer. Bret Holmes rejoins me shortly in studio, plus my conversation with Grant Enfinger is coming up as well from the GMS shops up in Charlotte. But right now, let's get to this week's racing calendar.
It's 2 big nights of racing off Speedway Boulevard this Friday and Saturday at Talladega Raceway Park and Talladega Short Track. It starts Friday with the go-karts in action with all classes on track, plus a kids' candy drop. Grandstand admission is free. Here's last week's Raceway Park winners. Jonathan Ponder held off Brodie Clay in mini late models, Adam Clifton in flathead light, Dwayne Kaysen in super heavy, Cameron Irvin in blue plate, Wayne Ernest in stock medium, Chase Denham in Predator, Bobby Hansen in Unlimited, Brody Woods in green plate, Haley Bridgman in stock light, Scott Allen in super heavy, Parker Robinson gets his first win in red plate, and Luke Ferguson wins in junior late model. Saturday winners from Talladega short track action in the B.J. Parker Memorial include Tennessee's Riley Hickman, who held off Jason Hyatt and Tim Rozelle in super late models, Michael Browning in Crate Late Model, Chris Fennell in Sportsman, Brodie Johnson in Thundercar, Steve Pate wins again in Street Stock, and Chase McAvoy took the win in the Hot Shots. It's racing in all local divisions this Saturday, plus the NVRA Vintage Stock Cars in action. Gates open at 5 with racing at 8 o'clock. Grandstand admission is just $10 with kids 9 and under admitted free. A lightning strike followed by a power outage caused a cancellation of events this past Saturday at Montgomery Motor Speedway. The Pro Late Model race has been rescheduled for July the 2nd. With all the power restored and the lights back on, they'll be racing again this week with the Southern Super Series Rumble by the River 125 headlining a full night of action that includes a motorcycle stunt show, the Modifieds Mayhem Tour, Late Model Sportsman, and Street Stocks. The gates open early at 11 a.m. with qualifying starting at 5:30 and features at 7 o'clock. You can check the Montgomery Motor Speedway website for ticket pricing. Action returns this Saturday night at South Alabama Speedway with a full night featuring the Super Trucks plus all local divisions for regular points. Grandstand gates open at 5 with practice starting at 5 for the local classes. Truck qualifying gets underway at 6:30 with the night's first green flag at 7 o'clock. Grandstand admission is just $8 for adults, $4 for kids 6 and 12. The Alabama Racer would like to send out our well wishes to track owner John and Sandra Dykes. John is currently testing to receive a liver transplant. We join in with all the state's racing family in sending him our best wishes. At Huntsville Speedway this past Saturday in limited late model, TQ went to Nathan Davis, who also pulled the one pill for the draw to place him on the pole. Davis and Chuck Tuck dueled for several laps, with Davis holding his own until lap 46 when the engine blew. The battle for the win was far from over, though, as on the restart, Tuck and Brian Bentley made contact going into turn 1, sending both cars into the outside wall, forcing both to retire. That left Kevin Rankin and Edwin Gurley to battle it out for the win. On the final restart, Rankin held on to get the checkered flag. Other winners from last Saturday night at Huntsville include Chase Oliver in Open Wheel Modified, Doug Emerson in the Mini Mods, Floyd Brown in Buzz, Brad Malone in Super Stock, and Matthew Tucker in the Hot Shots. Huntsville Speedway is racing again this Saturday night, featuring the Super Truck, Sportsman, Super Stock, Mini Modifieds, Pro Buzz, Buzz, and Hot Shot divisions. Pits gates will open at 3 o'clock with the front gates at 5. Qualifying starts at 6, and the first green flag of the evening flies at 7. On the west side of the state, Ceres Speedway over in Dora got their show in this past Saturday. Feature winners included Dennis Lane in Buzz, Adam Gunner in Mini Modifieds, Joe Falls in Street Stock, Justin Bonnet in Limited Modified, Henry Wade in Sportsman, and Charlie Richardson in the Renegades. This week, Sayre host action in Open Wheel Modified, Modified Light, Mini Modified, Buzz, and Renegade classes, plus a twin feature for Street Stocks. The action gets underway at 8 o'clock. It's double points this Saturday night at Shelby County Speedway over in Wilsonville, where there's barbecue for daddy this week. Last week's winners at Shelby County included Joey Isbell in Crate Late Model, Sam Ramsey in Super Pony, Sandy Dawson in Street Stock, Chris Howell in Road Hog, Bubba Smith in Buzz A Main, and Brandon Denson in Buzz B Main. The gates open at 5 for this week's racing action. It's Grudge Fest this Saturday at Holiday Beach in Woodstock. Gates open at noon and the racing starts at 4 o'clock. You can come out and see Mr. 1G, Drag Queen, the return of Little Duke, Riley, plus Candy versus Old Black and more. It's $20 to spectate or $20 to race. Congratulations to last Saturday's winners at Holiday Raceway, Mark Williams in Pro Dragster, Alan Reno in Foot Brake, and Brady Fomby in Junior Dragster. Fort Payne Motor Speedway hosted a full slate of racing this past Saturday. The feature winners were Ted Hernandez in Super Late Model, Kyle May in Crate Late Model, Justin McGaffa in Sportsman, Bart Starr in B Hobby, Sean Guffey in A Hobby, Jimmy Plumley in Pony, and Garrett Lloyd in four-wheel drive. Racing continues this Saturday at Fort Payne with a full slate of action in all classes. Grandstand admission is just $10 with kids 12 and under admitted free. It's a big Friday, Saturday doubleheader special this weekend at East Alabama Motor Speedway over in Phoenix City as the USCS Outlaw Thunder Tour Sprint Cars headline the Alabama Sprint Car Nationals both nights for Father's Day weekend. On Friday night, besides the big sprint cars, you'll see the USCS 600 Sprint Car Series winged mini sprints, plus late models, street stocks, and road warriors in action. Friday admission is just $15 for adults. On Saturday, it's the big sprints plus the USCS Sprint Car Series winged mini sprints. The EAMS Super Late Models, Hobby, and Hot Shots are all in action. Saturday admission is $20 for adults, with children 10 and under free both nights. And finally this week, it was a great turnout this last Friday night at Penton Raceway, who has fought the rain all season down in Lafayette as they showcased their first weekly racing program of the season at the track. Winners from last Friday included Dana Island in late model, Kevin Bennett in limited sportsman, Chris Steele in hobby, David Dark in bandit, and Jimmy McElroy in the hot shots. Penton returns to racing action next Friday, June the 24th, with another weekly racing program in all classes.
Okay, here's the deal. If you're a promoter or a fan and you don't see your track on the racing calendar each and every week, well, folks, we're doing our best, but you have to do your part as well. If you're a promoter and you'd like us to have your results on our show each and every week or promote your upcoming events, it's a free service to every track in the state of Alabama. All you have to do is email us your results, your photos, your video clips, anything that you have that helps promote your track to the Alabama Racer at fnnnetwork.com. We only really have one restriction. You need to get that to us no later than 12 noon each and every Tuesday to be on Thursday night's first showing. It's that simple. All you have to do. Now, we're going to grab a quick timeout. When we come back, Bret Holmes rejoins me right over here, and we'll sit down and talk about his team's first win in the ARCA series at Pocono a couple of weeks ago. That's all straight ahead when the Alabama Racer continues right after this.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
We build things that work the way you wish they would. Like a front-end loader you can detach from your seat. Or a mower deck you just drive over and cut through knee-deep grass no problem. Yep, we thought the same thing you did. That's why we build them this way. That's how we run. Nothing runs like a deer.
We have a 95% customer satisfaction rating.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, are facing an audit, a lien, or levy, then call me right away. You're in charge with the Tax Admiral. Call me now for your free emergency consultation.
Call 800-218-4908. That's 800-218-4908.
Welcome back to the Alabama Racer. Jim Jacobs alongside my co-pilot this week, Bret Holmes.
That's a lot on that racing calendar we've got this week.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happening around the state. And it seems like it's that way each and every week. I know tracks that don't run every week, but when you kind of piece it all together, man, there's a lot of racing in Alabama, and until you really get to doing something like this show, you don't really realize how much there is.
Yeah, there's always a track racing every weekend in the state, I think.
Always a place to spend money and have fun, and there you go. That's what racing is all about. Let's talk about Pocono. Of course, you went up, I guess, as the car owner and the observer because you weren't racing. You guys put Grant in the car for the event, and wow, victory lane.
Yeah, that's one way to say it. But I mean, that was in the deal with us and GMS and Grant, that I was going to get 7 races this season, just kind of using the ARCA series. And with all of how much Grant was helping us this season, he was going to get 2 races, just to help him out a little bit, and just to help him out with his racing schedule. And that was his first race of the season at Pocono, and man, that was awesome. That was a big weekend for us, I think.
What was that like? I mean, because it crossed my mind when I saw that the car had won. I'm thinking, well, Bret's either really, really thrilled about this or he's a little disappointed that it wasn't him. And I'm trying to figure out maybe where your head was in all that. I know you were glad for the car to win, obviously,
right.
but what was that like?
I was a little jealous that I was in the car, to be honest with you. But, Grant has a lot more experience than I do at tracks that size and intermediate size tracks. So, it was definitely really cool to see that car in victory lane and us being a team together and BHR and everything. And in 3 starts, we already got a win and 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s. So that's really saying something about a new team like this. But like I said, I'm really glad to have Grant, behind us, helping us out and everything. It's been a really great year so far.
I'm going to put a picture up right now, so look at your screen. This is Bret, of course, Grant, and to the right is Stacy, who is Bret's dad. I've never seen him smile like that.
I can't say I have either. Maybe when I win a race that big one day, it'll be that big. But we were all really happy after that race. We honestly didn't have the fastest car that weekend. We were truly a 6th to 7th place car, but we gambled really well there on gas mileage, and in the end, it helped us in our favor, and we ended up in victory lane, and that was really cool to it being a NASCAR weekend with the Xfinity Series and Sprint Cup Series there. We were there to open up the schedule events at Pocono, and just winning at a track like that with so much history was just really cool.
Now, you got to do some laps in the car, I think, during the test and maybe during practice. Mm-hmm. What was Pocono like compared? It's a 2.5 mile track, just like Daytona and Talladega, but boy, there's a world of difference.
Well, it's called the Tricky Triangle for a reason. All 3 corners are different.
Right.
It doesn't have a 4th turn, but it was really cool. That was my first time on a track that size. I'm always used to short track, and then I've got 1 super speedway under my belt, and this was the first time I was having something in between. So it was definitely something to get used to. I definitely wasn't as fast as Grant was, but I caught on there at the end. I still got some things to pick up on, but I'm really looking forward to later in the year when we race Kansas and Kentucky.
No, that'll be a different animal as well, and of course, Kentucky's been repaved now, and I know that the Cup guys were up there this week doing a tire test or something. Mm-hmm. What's that going to be like? Are you going to get to go up there before the race or anything like that?
There's actually an open test the Tuesday before the race on Friday or Saturday. So that'll give me the opportunity to get a few laps there before we actually make our first start there. But like I said, I'm so used to these short tracks and stuff like that, so it's going to be a lot harder to adjust to these intermediate tracks. There's such a small margin of error, when we're running the tracks these size.
Now, I'm not a driver, but I'm going to give you a little advice. You got to lift at Kentucky, okay? And it's not like Talladega. It's not hammer down and drive. You got to lift somewhere.
Right, even though we may not want to, but
yeah.
We got to.
All right, back to Pocono. Where'd you spend the race?
I spent most of the race on top of the pit box.
Now, Jim called the race, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Jim was our crew. Jim Barfield,
yep.
Our crew chief for our late model team, was crew chiefing for that race also.
And you let your PR guy do fuel mileage? Is that true?
Well, he honestly, he wasn't certain.
Now, that's what he's telling everybody, that he figured it all out. Okay, I think he's trying to take credit.
Well, honestly, he was. It did play a big part in that race. He wasn't serving as much as a PR guy as he was, helping us make decisions on top of the pit box. We had our computer there, and figuring the numbers and everything, trying to, gamble on how much fuel, putting in the numbers how much fuel we put in the car, and making that calculation of how much fuel we had left to the end of the race. And I think we just made a great call there to just stay out and not pit again and just save fuel. And Grant did a great job of that. That's something I have no experience with as well.
Right.
So, I can't say the results would have been the same if I would have been in the car, because I'm not used to saving fuel like that. And he had to stay out there for almost, a little over 30 laps saving fuel, trying to draft with as many people as he could have and laying off the throttle as much as he could have. And he cut it really close at the end. I think at the end of the race, we only had 1 gallon of fuel left, but that was after he did a burnout. So, it was really cool. Like I said, really cool to win a race like that, and to win it that close. To see the 23 in victory lane was really eye-opening for me. It shows just what our team can do.
I'm curious, you've obviously won a lot of races already in your life. What was going to victory lane at an event like that like versus, say, Pensacola or Mobile?
Right. Honestly, it was nothing compared to that. You know, I've won a lot of races in short tracks and through the ranks of go-karts and dirt late models and asphalt late models, and you know, I've had a lot of good experiences, you know, winning races at places like Pensacola and Montgomery and Talladega short track, but it was nothing like Pocono. And you know, I won't ever forget that first ARCA win. You know, that's always the toughest one to get over. After the first one, it's a lot easier to get the second one. So I think that was just our first big hurdle for our team, and I can't wait to see what we do in the future.
Now, talk to me about the change in the bodies in ARCA. I think they dabbled with it a little bit starting at Pocono, if I'm not mistaken, but they're going to some kind of composite body.
Right.
What's the deal there?
They debuted the composite body this year. Last year, you know, coming from the steel bodies. These bodies are, you know, a little bit lighter, and you know, when you get in a wreck or something like that, you know, you don't have to replace the whole body on the car. You can just replace a couple pieces here and there. But it also plays a lot of difference in aerodynamics, and that was the biggest problem people were facing that weekend and that whole week. You know, testing was nobody has ever ran a composite car at a speedway like that. So that was the first time they debuted those bodies, and I think they proved to do really well. They also made the cars look really professional. They look a lot similar to the Sprint Cup cars now. But I think they're a really great future for the ARCA series, and I hope they continue to use them.
Did that come about as a cost-cutting measure, or is it a competition thing?
Yeah, it definitely cut a lot of cost out of the series, and that's one big reason we got into it, because ARCA made, you know, great decisions with the change of their motors and their bodies. They you know, all they did was open the door to more people, being able to get the experience in the series. You know, used to it was really hard financially to get to run just a couple races here and there in the series, but now like I said, they've opened the door for a lot more people to, come in. Like you've seen this year already, they've had, a quarter more car counts, each race than they had last year, and I think that just says something, that is just definitely a good, positive thing for the series, and I think it will be in the future too.
All right, a couple more things before we go to the white flag break. How do you like this new Alabama gang movement thing that everybody's kind of got going around you and Grant?
Right. It's really cool to work with Grant. Him being from Fairhope, Alabama, and he grew up racing late models and around the South Alabama, at South Alabama Speedway, Pensacola, Mobile, Op. And that's where I'm getting to race at too. And it's really cool to just work with somebody like that. We get along really well, and I think our success shown over a little time has shown just what two guys from Alabama can do. So.
From when Bobby and Red and Donnie and Neil started over in Hueytown, not a lot of difference between Hueytown then and Munford now.
Right.
So you guys can do it out of Munford.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different running our shop in the ARCA series out of Munford, Alabama than it is in Mooresville or something like that, where all the all the big shops and ARCA teams and stuff are, and it's really an honor to get to just run the shop, run the team out of our shop in Munford. And,
is it hard to do that though, Bret, when all the technology's in Charlotte with the wind tunnel and all that stuff?
Yeah, it is a little bit. There's just a lot of logistics and transportation back and forth from the Carolinas that goes into that, but that's just what we have to do to run it out of our shop. There's a lot more stuff up there, and that's the reason why there's so many teams up there.
Right.
But I think right now, we've shown that we're doing just fine running out of our hometown.
And that takes me to the last thing I want to talk to you about, and that's the business side of this. How involved are you in that, or is your dad taking care of most of that?
Me and my dad both play a big part of it. He's really busy with his construction business right now.
Right. He's got to pay for all your toys, man.
right, exactly. And that's stressing enough as it is. I mean, and I'm just going to school, now, and now that I'm out for the summer, I've been a lot more involved with the team and working in the shop and, financially helping, even getting to manage the race team. And, there's a lot of logistics and planning that goes into it, and I think that's where I come in a big part of it too, as well as working in the shop and on setups and stuff like that. There's a lot more into it than people think. It's not just build buy a car and then just race it. You know what I mean? You gotta buy all the parts and transport it back and forth, plan hotel rooms. Through the week and everything, and it's a lot more that's involved in it than what people think.
Shows like this and TV coverage of racing, in my mind, don't do the sport justice. It's a tough life.
It really is, and like I've said in the past, there's to be involved in this sport, you gotta love it. There's a lot of time spent away from family and friends, and you don't get the social life you might want to, and you're working all week and weekend. You might get 1 or 2 days off, but at the most, or none sometimes. And a lot of late nights, worrying or working on these things.
Yeah.
And but that's just what it takes to do this. And there's just so much work and technology put into this now. And you got to work all through the week. We've got 2 full-time guys at our shop, including me and all the guys at GMS Racing. And sometimes you've got, days like, where we at Pocono, we were there from Tuesday till Friday and then a 13-hour ride home on Saturday. And a lot of people don't realize how much is involved in that.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk to Bret's sidekick, Grant Enfinger from Charlotte. He's up at GMS Racing, and we're going to talk about the win at Pocono and what it's like to work with this guy and his dad down in Munford with Bret's career when we continue with the Alabama Racer. That is straight ahead. Don't you go anywhere.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford. Daffron Auto Salvage in Pell City is where you'll find over 30 acres of automotive salvage, plus a warehouse full of quality parts for almost any need. Just call ahead and tell us what you're looking for. At Daffron Auto Salvage, you'll find it all. Engine parts, transmissions, rear ends, radiators, suspension, body parts, auto glass, even tires and wheels. You'll also get fast, friendly service. It's been that way since 1965. Don't pay too much for parts. Think used first. Daffron Auto Salvage, 793 Old Cold City Road in Pell City.
Welcome back to the Alabama Racer, presented by Jack Green Oil Company, your local VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor. My name is Jim Jacobs. I'm your host each and every week. And right now I'm pleased to be joined from Charlotte, North Carolina at the GMS Racing headquarters by Grant Enfinger. Grant's season has obviously had lots of ups and downs and tosses and turns so far. He began the year at Daytona thinking he had a full-time ride on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Well, that kind of blew up, and he's had to pick up the pieces. And part of that is helping Bret and Stacy Holmes get the BHR ARCA campaign off to a positive start. And they've obviously done that with a good run in Nashville, a top 10 at Talladega, and just a couple of weeks ago, Grant drove the car to a win at Pocono for BHR. Grant, welcome to the Alabama Racer, and congratulations on taking the Holmes to victory lane.
Yeah, we worked really hard for that, and like you said, well, it wasn't exactly the way we all kind of planned it out, but it did work out in our favor at the end. Able to play the fuel mileage game a little bit, and ended up coming out on top, but. Really, we worked hard all week when we were there. Struggled with speed for a lot of the time, and we finally hit on a few things before the race, and got to be a top 4 or 5 car there. And anyway, just the way it all worked out, we kind of played the fuel mileage there. Myself and Jim Barfield had talked about it, and took a chance, and it paid off. So can't say thank you enough to Stacy Holmes and Bret Holmes, everybody at Bret Holmes Racing for allowing us to do that. And I think we learned a lot in the process. It's gonna make us better down the road.
Now, if I understand things correctly, you're scheduled to drive the car for BHR a second time this season. Is that right?
That's the plan. But we're doing all this to try to help Bret and all of Bret Holmes Racing. So, the plan is for me to run one more race, but, we've got a lot to do in the meantime. Bret's next race is going to be Lucas Oil Raceway there in Indianapolis. So the focus is now getting ready for that, and then we got a short turnaround, just the way our team is kind of structured now. A short turnaround to Berlin 2 weeks after that. So that's kind of that's the focus right now.
Obviously, most people know you, Grant, as a driver, but can you kind of explain for everyone watching the show how the deal came about for you to work with Bret and the Holmes for putting together this package with BHR?
Yeah, it definitely has been, a little bit of a crazy year from my perspective there. But like you mentioned, started out the first couple of races this season running a truck for GMS Racing, and obviously we weren't able to continue to run the full season or anything like that, but do have 4 remaining races in the truck for GMS. The next one being in a few weeks in Kentucky. So, GMS is kind of what brought us all together. Jim Barfield, Bret's crew chief on the late model side of things. He had a relationship with our boss here, Mike Beam, and that's kind of what led us all together. And I met Bret and Stacy, this past winter, and kind of hit it off there. And like I said, feel like I'm trying to help them as they transition from a late model team into an ARCA team, and trying to help Bret with shortening any learning curves. He's obviously got a lot of talent and he's done a lot in the late model world, and it's just obviously it's a little bit different deal on these ARCA cars.
Grant, circumstances have kind of forced you into a situation where you've had to step out of your driver's suit and put on your crew chief hat to help Bret and Stacy get the ARCA program up and running through the relationship with GMS. Starting off, you guys knocked off an outside front row start at Nashville, a top 10 finish, and then you worked with Bret through a top 10 at Talladega Superspeedway in his big track debut. Can you tell us what that's been like for you?
Yeah, that's definitely a little bit different for me, but I've been racing so long, I've done a little bit of everything over the years, so that was another deal. Just kind of myself and Jim Barfield worked together there, and trying to call the shots there, and got started off in a great way at Nashville. Bret qualified second there, and really stood a chance to win the race, and we didn't have a chance to pit for tires and ended up finishing 5th there, but still a great first outing. And Talladega, we had a solid car there and a solid plan, and it seems like that deal always goes out the window at the last minute. But overall, I had a good outing there as well. And like I said, I feel like the Pocono was the first win for all of us Bret Holmes Racing, but I don't feel like it's going to be the last.
There have been many stories this season written about you and your talent and not having a full-time ride in some of the upper divisions of the sport. Grant, in your opinion, have we gotten to a place in stock car racing to where it doesn't really matter how much talent you have as a driver, you've got to bring some cubic dollars to the deal to get a seat these days?
Obviously, sponsorship is a huge part of racing, and without the sponsorship dollars, these cars and trucks can't go to the track. So, you really need everything. You need the whole package, and like I said, feel like I've kind of showing everybody I need to be in the truck series. That's where I feel like I belong right now. But obviously it's tough business wise to make everything make sense. So. Obviously, not the year that I was really expecting or hoping for, but still very, very blessed to be able to do what I want to do for a living. And like I said, I got 4 more chances in these GMS trucks, and I feel like we'll have a chance to win. So like I said, I've been in lots worse places, but yeah, as a whole, the business of racing and the sport of racing is very different, very, very dependent on sponsorship dollars. So that's just the way of the world, unfortunately. But like I said, I'm still very, very blessed to be able to do what I love to do.
Grant, you obviously know what it takes to be successful in the upper levels of the stock car world. Talk a little bit about what you see in Bret as far as his talent is concerned and where his future may be leading. And what do you think about all these folks around this part of the state kind of dubbing you and him the new Alabama gang?
You know, Bret definitely impressed me when we went to Nashville there. He got up to speed really, really quickly and did everything he needed to do there. And he did great at Talladega as well. Talladega is one of those places that, you know, even though I love that place, sometimes it doesn't love you back, it seems like. And it's a little bit of a crapshoot when it comes down to the nitty-gritty there. So I think, you know, I think as we progress through the year, I'm going to, you know, figure out a little bit more of what he's looking for in the race car. And, you know, he's going to be able to give us more feedback that helps us get even more speed out of these things. But overall, like I said, right off the bat was really, really good and really impressive. And, I mean, to a certain extent, that's probably to be expected because, you know, him and Stacy, those guys have been racing for a long time, and they're definitely true racers. I mean, those guys are racing somewhere just about every weekend. You know, whether it's their super late model or pro late model or this ARCA car, they, you know, they're racing somewhere all the time. So those guys are just real true racers.
Grant, thanks a lot for phoning in, and we really appreciate you giving us some time today on the Alabama Racer.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Grant Enfinger is a really stand-up guy. He's a very talented race car driver, but outside the race car, well, there's even more to him than that. We certainly hope that fate shines on him and he gets a solid ride, maybe full-time in trucks or maybe even an Xfinity car in the next year or two. He certainly deserves it, and I can assure you he'll make the most of it. One more pit stop for us. Bret will rejoin me in the studio here, and we'll wrap things up when the Alabama Racer takes the white flag, which is straight ahead. Don't you go anywhere.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford. Daffron Auto Salvage in Pell City is where you'll find over 30 acres of automotive salvage, plus a warehouse full of quality parts for almost any need. Just call ahead and tell us what you're looking for. At Daffron Auto Salvage, you'll find it all. Engine parts, transmissions, rear ends, radiators, suspension, body parts, auto glass, even tires and wheels. You'll also get fast, friendly service. It's been that way since 1965. Don't pay too much for parts. Think used first. Daffron Auto Salvage, 793 Old Cold City Road in Pell City.
Anniston Storage is one of the area's finest household and commercial storage facilities. Fenced, well lit with security cameras, this multi-unit facility can meet all of your short or long-term storage needs. Anniston Storage is safely accessible 24 hours with an electric gate and keypad entry, each unit securely locked to protect your valuables. Sizes available are 10 by 10 up to 10 by 40 feet. We also offer outside storage for boats, campers, trailers, or motorhomes. Find everything you need at our website, AnnistonStorage.com. You can even reserve your unit and pay your bill. Anniston Storage, 3100 Red Morris Parkway in Anniston.
Spring is finally here. If you're looking for a new car, truck, or SUV,
or just want something more dependable that's affordable to drive,
then come see us at Avery Auto Sales of Anniston, 410 South Quintard Avenue, home of certified cars, trucks, and SUVs.
Don't pay high new car prices. Come see us at Avery Auto Sales in Oxford on Highway 78.
we even can offer an additional 100,000-mile certified warranty.
And yes, we can get you financed even if you have poor credit.
Spring into Avery Auto Sales on Highway 78 in Oxford and our new location on Quintard in Anniston.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. We're headed over to Victory Lane, a place this guy knows all too well after Pocono. I'm jealous. Thanks a lot to everybody for being on the show this week. We really appreciate Grant Enfinger letting us talk with him. Of course, Bret for coming in live and Brodie for jumping out of White Lightning long enough to share a few moments with us. Don't forget now, the show is on each and every week. You can follow us on YouTube to see the show on demand. If you can't wait till we post it, well, of course, the show debuts on fnnnetwork.com right here. There you go. Every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Mr. Holmes, what's your schedule for the next month or so?
In the next few weeks, we're racing at Salem Speedway in Pensacola, Mobile in our Pro Late model, and then later in the summer, we're racing at Berlin and Lucas Oil Raceway in our ARCA car.
Now, there's lots of ways to keep up with Bret. He's pretty active on social media. You got a Twitter handle, I know.
Yes, sir. Twitter handle is at BretHolmes_2, and we also have a website, BretHolmes.com, just to keep up with our latest headlines and schedule.
Yeah, there's always good photos and stuff like that from where you're traveling around. And the cool thing about video is we had all that right down here while you were saying it. You didn't know we could do that, did you? Listen, thanks a lot for coming in. Known your dad a long time. Best of luck to you. I know you're going to get one for the year's over.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on the show. I hope so.
All right. Good deal. Hey, we're out of time. We got to go. We'll see you next week right here on the Alabama Racer. We leave you as we always do. Remember, if you're not first, you're last.